pens. I've got some for ya. I was a union steward working with a group of workers whose boss was a Napoleon in miniature. He micromanaged everything. One day, he decided his units were using too many pens. He restricted ordering pens to 1 box per unit per month. This was a psychiatric facility, so everyone, not just the workers, used the pens. They would accidentally go home in people's pockets all the time. Nurses started bringing in spare pens from home. Then we did a meeting. At their request, I ordered 500 union pens, bright red, with our logo on it. We put up flyers everywhere saying, "Need a pen? Ask your union steward." Doctors, nurses, social workers, patients, everyone had union pens. It took 2 days for management to cave. 2 years later, managers were still complaining about it. Edit: management bought cases of unbranded pens within days of the union pens showing up. They hated having all the union pens everywhere. My daughter asked me what I'm posting on Reddit, so I told her that they /r/dad jokes. When was a "heck it, I'll do it myself" moment for you? 8 years old. Was begging my parents to teach me to ride a bike for well over a year. Maybe even 2. I felt like the last of my friends to learn, and it was embarrassing. I finally went into my dad's toolbox that probably weighed as much as I did and tried about a dozen heckin' tools until I managed to figure out how to take off my little pink training wheels. I spent the next couple weeks non-stop teaching myself how to ride a bike with zero help. Absolutely fucked myself up numerous times. No one noticed or cared, except my friends who were stoked when I finally rolled up on 2 wheels. I am 30 now and I weirdly find this to be a pivotal moment of my life. It seems insignificant, but to feel the power of self-sufficiency at 8 was pretty dope and really built my confidence. He infringes my art. I shut down his print shop and ruined his career. A little backstory: I'm an online artist and this took place when I was in my early 20s. There was a popular artist who calls himself a professional and works in the industries. I used to look up to him. Let's call him Zach. Lately, I noticed how Zach's art looked eerily too familiar to a piece of media I've seen before. So I looked up the images and found it too matched up to his art. He was directly referencing official art and profiting off of it by selling it on his print shops online. He didn't make any effort to make the reference detaches from the original piece. I confronted him about it, sending a detailed message not to do that and the possible consequences. I have seen artists in real life who are sued for over $100,000 and to the extent in jail for doing what they did. Instead of being professional and mature about it, he lashed out at me and took it to social media, telling me how wrong I was to falsely accuse him since artists use references and how I could get sued for libel. I was dumbfounded at how clueless he was, not comprehending what I was talking about. He included my username, which my blog had links to my contacts, my emails, Facebook page, art accounts, and Instagram. His fans, including his group of friends, joined in sending me downright horrific messages to me. I had panic attacks resulting from the pure backlash of his enormous fan base. I constantly received hate mail, telling me how horrible I am as a person, how shitty my art was, and to the extent of death threats for almost an entire month. The last straw that broke the camel's back was when he directly referenced off of my art and made money off of it. I didn't know how to find a lawyer, and I feel hopeless and angry that I couldn't do anything about it. Later it hit me: if I can't do it, then maybe another artist can, or anyone holds the copyright. The last time I remember, Zach never credited any of these artists for his references. I looked into the art he referenced and examined each official company matching Zach's art. I used Google search to find anyone working for a said company, and voila. I found a staff member for a branch in a different continent. Let's call him Cody. I contacted Cody's Facebook and tipped him about Zach's activity through Messenger. I uploaded and sent a copy of their art and Zach's art for comparison. Cody just simply replied, "We'll contact our legal team, thanks for the notice." Another week passes by, and during the time he constantly posts to every damn thing I post about in my art blog. And then silence. I checked, his print shop was removed. His response to my message was taken down from his social media. He stops talking to his friends publicly. Days later, a fan was asking about him and he responded how he is no longer friends with them cause they are very toxic hypocrites. One of his former group of friends contacted my friend and cried about how awful a bully he was. Of course, my friend didn't care. It was the most glorifying feeling I have ever rejoiced. This would have been avoided if he at least heeded my warnings. How he handled the situation was not professional at all. About 5 years later, I had been informed that apparently, he has a tough time getting back into the industry after there were allegations of his past copyright infringement. The biggest one was having a lawsuit with the big company Cody worked for. What consistently leaves you disappointed, but you just keep trying? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Growing indoor plants. Trying to keep in contact with my one-sided friendship. Thinking my job will get better. Ordering fries from home. They always arrive cold. You want that laminated? At the time, I worked in the copy center of a popular office supply store. One evening, a 30-something man came in with his Super Bowl tickets and wanted them laminated to preserve them. It's important to note that lamination does not preserve items long-term. It yellows and cannot be removed from the item, makes it difficult to determine if the item is fake, and eventually falls apart and peels. Secondly, and more importantly, lamination uses heat, so it turns heat-printed items, like Super Bowl tickets, solid black, which eventually fades completely. It would ruin the tickets in 20 seconds. So I told him this and refused. He insisted. I refused, which was 100% allowed when it came to the lamination machine, as it destroys the customer's original media. He called me some names, so I continued to refuse. He called for a manager. The manager had exactly zero patience for any shenanigans at all. He told the customer no. The customer carried on the tantrum. I typed up a basic release form as I knew what was coming. It stated that lamination would destroy the tickets, had everything about the tickets, and was relatively ironclad coming from someone who makes minimum wage. The manager finally said fine, we would laminate them. I handed him the release and he insisted that the customer sign it. He told me to laminate the tickets, and I refused again, knowing that I could still be disciplined for ruining the originals. I always had the backing of management to refuse to ruin things. So the manager laminated the tickets. The tickets turned black. The customer lost his mind. The manager retreated to the locked office. The cops showed up and hauled off the customer. Corporate was not involved somehow, probably because of the cops. The customer claimed the tickets were worth over $1,000 each, but not anymore. Edit: we did not offer cold lamination as we were not allowed to laminate things that were valuable and couldn't be replaced anyways. We sold it, but the customer refused as he wasn't willing to risk screwing it himself up either. Promote me but won't bump up my hourly wage. Sure thing, I'll just use your rules to give myself a 50% pay bump. This happened in a company I worked at over a decade ago. I was a technician working on large machines. We had numerous clients and were assigned to a given site. The site I worked on was across a border, so I couldn't live near it, and had an hour commute each way every day. I got no expenses or mileage for this because it was my assigned site. After working for this company for a while, I got promoted to stop doing routine maintenance and work on more complex projects. Most of these projects were on a site near where I lived, so that suited me just fine. However, the company told me they didn't have any budget to increase my wage, which is where the malicious compliance came in. I combed through their rules and regs as well as my contract, and found that if you had to travel to a site that was not your assigned one, you got paid as if you had driven from your assigned site to whatever other one you were working on. My assigned site was classified as being 1.5 hours from the site that I was doing most of my work on, so I was allowed to claim those 1.5 hours as hours worked on my timesheet. So every day I would put down 1.5 hours commute there, 1.5 hours commute home, and 8 hours regular work. Anything over 8 hours worked a day was paid at OT rates, so for those 3 hours commute, I was getting paid 4.5 hours. Because my contract said my assigned site was Site A, and I was mostly working at Site B, there was nothing they could do about it, and my country has pretty decent employee protection, so I'd have had to agree to a contract change, which I obviously was not going to. They told me numerous times they were going to change my assigned site, but until the day I quit they were never able to. The length of my commute most days was 10-15 minutes each way. TLDR, I used the company rules to get paid an extra 4.5 hours each day for driving for about 25 minutes. What's the worst first date you've ever been on? Leave your story in the comments. It was a blind date. Agreed to meet at the coffee shop. Things started well. Got drinks, started chatting. Then realized that she was not the person I was supposed to meet. She was also there waiting for her date.
Then what happened?
When I realized that she was not the person, I panicked, for some reason gave my drink to her, apologized saying that it's my fault that it happened, and ran back inside. We went for a walk outside. I met my actual date and got drinks for her and now decided to stay in the coffee shop. The first girl returned with 2 drinks and sat down at the table right next to mine, where her actual date was sitting. To make things even more weird, she gave my former drink to her date. To her credit, that drink was so hot, so I didn't drink it. People of Reddit, what is the most glitch in the Matrix experience you have had? I was in the kitchen with a friend. I was reaching up to the highest shelf to try and get a serving tray down. As I tilted it towards myself to pull down, a huge kitchen knife, the Halloween kind, came sliding off, point first, toward me. This was in a place I was renting, no clue who put the knife up there. Time seemed to slow down as I watched the knife fall toward my body. I heard it scrape against the tray as it slid off, and watched the point aimed right for my solar plexus. I had time to think, oh shit, this is it, this knife is about to plunge hilt deep into my belly at a downward angle and I'm going to die, is a strangely calm and detached way. As the point of the knife touched my t-shirt, the whole knife just winked out of existence as if it had never existed. It was just there and then not. I was ready to write the whole thing off as a weird hallucination or something, and question my sanity, when I look over at my friend who is standing next to me. His eyes are huge and his jaw is open and he says, "What just happened to that knife?" I started freaking out and shaking all over. "Oh my god, you saw it too." He saw the exact same thing I did. We looked everywhere for a knife like that in the kitchen and opened every drawer because maybe it fell somewhere and we somehow didn't see or hear it. No knife anything like it was anywhere in the house. This was in 2007, actually the week right after Thanksgiving that year, so around this time of year. Craziest thing that has ever happened to me. I wonder about it all the time and wish I had an answer. If anyone else has experienced anything like this, I'd love to talk. Sorry for shitty formatting, I'm on mobile.